Hello, good morning everybody. This is Ina Jeffrey from Byte Software Services. Just doing a bit of a sound check. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm getting thumbs up at my end. So welcome to the Bytes and Visual Systems Centre 2012 webinar this morning. As I said, my name is Ina Jeffrey. I'm a Divisional Sales Director at Bytes. I've also introduced Craig Hartwell to come along to the session today. Craig works for a leading UK SI called Visual that we partner with, and we do a lot of work around the System Centre suite. Visual are a gold partner for core infrastructure and System Centre, and work with many of our customers to help them realise the business value of System Centre. So today's webinar is really to a combined messaging. Primarily we're just going to be explaining the licensing changes that Microsoft introduced in January in sort of anticipation of the launch of the System Centre 2012 product release. As I said, Visual are here today to also put a bit of context around the product release and to a bit more of a business value of why you should be looking at System Centre 2012. You are muted, and so just some sort of operational pieces really. You can submit questions as we go. We're expecting the session to be approximately 45 minutes, and we will be having a Q&A session at the end, about 10 minutes of Q&A. I just want to emphasise really though that this isn't going to be a deep dive product webinar. We are talking fundamentally about licensing changes and business ROI. So if any of you out there are particularly interested in understanding a little bit more about System Centre 2012 product, we can take that offline, and we can get Visual and the technical team there to assist you with any questions you might have. Also, the webinar is being recorded, and it will be made available via our website after the session. We also ask that you complete a critique form at the end. It's really important. We will have an online critique form. It just helps us from a feedback perspective to understand if we're basically telling you the information that you want to hear, whether or not we're hitting the mark and it's of value. So we do appreciate that you spend a couple of minutes just filling that form in for us. Okay, so I'm just going to pass over to Craig just to give you a bit of background really and a bit of context around the System Centre 2012 product suite that's going to be released soon.
Thank you, Zena, and good morning everybody. Thanks for having me along, Bytes. It's great to be, I guess, working together in what is an exciting time around the System Centre portfolio. So, as Zena alluded, my name is Craig Hartwell. I work for a leading systems integrator called Visual, who are a gold partner around systems management and core infrastructure. And while Zena will talk through the specifics of license changes today, I wanted to position why businesses are turning to Microsoft to deliver the cost-effective computing that scales to your business needs as and when you need them. We look here to delivering IT as a service. Cloud computing is not a fad being driven by IT. It is a genuine requirement from the business to increase the capability of IT to deliver against their core objectives. And private cloud computing is the model that we expect most enterprise customers will seriously adopt first. Different vendors have different ideas of what private cloud is, but Microsoft offers a private cloud that delivers real value today and positions a business to take advantage of greater public cloud benefits in the future. The Microsoft private cloud is unique and fully comprehensive, offering which is built upon four key pillars. Number one, it's all about the app. You can deploy both new and legacy applications on a self-service basis and manage them across public and private clouds. You can virtualize server applications to simplify deployment and upgrading. And with a new way to see what's happening inside the performance of your applications, you can remediate issues faster. The result is better SLAs for your business, better customer satisfaction, and a new level of agility. It's about being cross-platform from the metal up. It's architected from the raw metal to enable process automation and configuration across platforms and environments. You can manage multiple hypervisors, including VMware, Citrix, and the Microsoft offerings. You can run and monitor all major operating systems and can develop applications using multiple tool sets. It's a foundation for the future. Microsoft workloads including SharePoint, Exchange, and SQL, work best on the Microsoft private cloud. But the story is much bigger than that. The goal is to take customers beyond virtualization and unnecessary per virtual machine licensing and proceed with confidence to build a secure and manageable private cloud that delivers greater performance and compelling economics. So really this is about the cloud on your terms. You have the freedom to choose. Because Microsoft solutions share a common set of management, identity, virtualization and development technologies, you can distribute IT across physical, virtual and cloud computing models. The solutions are built to give you the power to construct and manage clouds across multiple data centers, infrastructures and service providers on terms that you control. That means you can keep a handle on compliance, on security and indeed on costs, and you can let your business needs drive your IT strategy instead of having IT limit your options. So these are some of the drivers as to why people are looking at System Center 2012 as a foundational component of the Microsoft Private Cloud and an important milestone in Microsoft's Private Cloud roadmap. The product was designed to enable you to take full advantage of the cloud. Now, Zena spoke a little bit around the return on investment in embracing things like the System Center portfolio. I have in front of me, I guess in front of you, a slide that depicts some recent activity that Microsoft has undertaken in comparing it to the competition. I think it's fair to say the changes that have happened to the System Center licensing portfolio is geared around helping Microsoft fight with one of its major competitors in VMware. And the slide that we have here shows some of the scale cost comparisons that happens when you start to expand your licensing requirements with the new vSphere 5 capability from VMware. Now, although these are in dollar values, I've kept the metrics the same because I think it's important to have a like-for-like comparison. But Microsoft and VMware are fundamentally different in how they address licensing in the data center. Microsoft licenses per processor and offers an unlimited virtualization capability. VMware licenses per processor, instance, virtual memory, and a number of VMs and charge for every single virtual machine to the tune of $2,500. As customers, you want to maximize your hardware utilization, drive up density, and reduce costs through virtualization. Your costs should decrease as your workload density increases, not the other way around. So these are some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry. People are starting to embrace the cloud phenomenon as it's being touted. Private cloud is the stepping stone towards that. It gets your estate in a mature model to embrace those public cloud environments. And the impending release of System Center 2012 pulls together lots of different technology areas to really start to pull it into a single unified suite of solutions that enable you to do this. So with that, we'll come back a little bit later and talk about how we move some of your current estates from non-System Center and maybe System Center legacy areas into the new world. But I'll hand back to Zena now, who will talk about some of the license changes that will go moving forward.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, so just to take a step back, really, well, actually, before I just go back and talk a little bit about where we are today. It's probably worth mentioning when we're expecting System Center 2012 to be released. At the moment, Microsoft don't have an actual date that we're going to see this on our price list, but there is going to be a global US launch on the 16th to 20th of April. So as a LAR, what we do is we have access to price lists a month in advance. So what we're expecting to do is to have a look on March. If we can see it on the March price list, fantastic. We can start doing some accurate cost comparisons for yourself. If it's not, we're expecting to see on the April price list. So we don't have an exact release date yet, but just wanted to let you know that prior to going through the license changes. Okay, so today I'm making a bit of an assumption, but so expecting most of the people listening have either made some or have invested in parts of the Microsoft System Center suite and may or may not be familiar with the current licensing model. Traditionally, Microsoft have expected customers to license the System Center suite in a number of ways. Firstly, you are expected to buy a management server license, and then for every server that is being managed, there are a number of MLs or management licenses that need to be procured, and these really differ depending on the workload that you're adding to the management servers, and depending on the workload, you can either buy a standard or an enterprise ML. And you mustn't forget that all the clients that are being controlled and managed need licenses as well. So this is hopefully familiar, and this is the kind of the traditional model that Microsoft have for licensing System Center today. Okay, so on the left-hand side of the screen, without reading them out, these are the product sets, the individual components that actually are part of System Center today. They have various release entitlements, and the important thing is they've really become sort of separate products that have had different release dates, and they are being brought together. So one of the key differentiators of System Center 2012 is that all the products will have one core release date at the same time, and that will continue moving forward. So where they have been, as I said, individual products, they're now being really brought together as one core suite. You can see from the existing products that we know, you can see that the slide there summarizes how and what licenses you should be procuring when you're looking at these particular suites. And as I said, most of you, or a number of you, will have a few thousand of these licenses to date in your environment. As well as being able to buy individual components of System Center today, Microsoft have had, and for a number of years, two specific suites that you could buy all their products under. One is their Enterprise Suite, which is sometimes referred to as SMUZ-E, and they also have a Data Center Suite as well, which is sometimes referred to as SMUZ-D. The core differentiators between the two product sets sits around virtualization, with SMUZ-E allowing up to 4 virtual instances and Data Center allowing unlimited. As well as buying the suites, you mustn't forget that you still require a server ML, or the actual management license is required as well, and that these must be bought in addition to the specific suites. Okay. So what is changing? Well, fundamentally, Microsoft are simplifying their licensing. The products that we have on the left-hand side are still available. They will be System Center 2012. Microsoft are releasing and adding 3 new components to their core offering. They will be Endpoint Protection, Orchestrator, and App Controller. Again, if you want any details on the products within System Center 2012, we can talk to you about these, but that's not going to be on the session today. So the main thing is that the suite will be extended, will contain more products, but there will be 2 flavors of products available to you. There will be System Center 2012 Standard Edition and System Center 2012 Data Center Edition. The main thing is that you can't, or you won't be in a position to buy the individual components anymore moving forward. The 2 suites will be the only offerings available to you. So where traditionally you have been maybe purchasing, say, Configuration Manager, MLs, you now will be buying Standard Edition or Data Center Edition. Both suites contain all the components mentioned, and kind of more simply, they manage any workload, so you don't have to worry about there being a sort of a standard or an enterprise edition ML depending on functionality. The standard and the Data Center Edition both contain the same technology. Again, slightly simpler is that you don't have to buy additional management server licenses, and all SQL rights are included as well. Again, trying to simplify things, so you just need to remember to buy one of 2 suites. The suites cover up to 2 physical processors. They must be put on one physical server, or same physical server, and the suites will always have software assurance included. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? We've kind of said, okay, that's nice and simple, Standard and Datacenter Edition. The difference between the two is about how virtualized you are as a business. So if, for example, you are as an organization have a light virtualization model, or you're still very physical, then we would recommend that the Standard Edition is probably more appropriate for you as an organization and will be more cost effective because you don't have such a virtualized environment. However, for organizations that are virtualized or continuing to be more virtualized, and they, and you're ramping up the number of virtual operating systems in your environment, then data center could well be the more cost-effective option for you. Okay, so we've discussed the new flavors of management licenses that are available. It's important to note that you still have to license all the clients that are going to be using System Center 2012. So traditionally on the client end you have been able to purchase licenses as individual components. Moving forward, these individual components will be in sort of more smaller suite offerings. So for customers that potentially have already or have purchased configuration management client, if you buy the System Center Configuration Manager suite, you'll also get Virtual Machine Manager included as well. Endpoint protection is available, and all the other individual components have been bundled together to be called the System Center 2012 Client Management Suite. For those of you who are observant out there, you can see that all these products are either in or are included within the Core Cal suite or the Enterprise Cal suite. So if you're a Core Cal customer or an Enterprise Cal customer or looking to migrate to these particular suites, you can start to see what flavors or what offerings that you will have included as well. Okay, so on the client side, just a summarize, you won't be able to buy individual components anymore. You do have to buy the suite of client MLs. For every suite you purchase on the client side, you will get software insurance included, and the licenses are available per OCE or per user. In a very similar way to the server MLs, if you buy the client MLs, you do not need to purchase an additional management server license, and all SQL technology is included as well. Okay. Now, I've summarized how you purchase, moving forward, server MLs and client MLs. Now, I understand that a lot of you out there will have already invested quite heavily, or potentially have invested quite heavily in System Center technology so far, and we'll have a number of licenses that are within your environment and have software assurance included as well. So for all of you who do have live SA on your current estate, this current System Center estate, then Microsoft does have a migration path available to you, and all those licenses with software assurance will transfer and migrate to equivalent license types within the new System Center 2012 suite. So for example, if you have a standard or enterprise server ML, you will be entitled to the new standard license. If you have Virtual Machine Manager Enterprise Edition, you'll get one Datacenter Edition. For SMUSE or SMUSD customers there, you can see the equivalent migration paths that are available to you. And again, any customers with an existing management server license, with or without SQL technology, will in fact get rights to the standard suite as well. Okay. So the current slide I have here, actually on the left-hand side, is a bit of a repeat. Just does show that yes, you can see the licenses that if you own on the left-hand side and you have software assurance. In the middle there, you will get a license grant to the applicable new license type. The important thing to note is if you have standard licenses, With software assurance, Microsoft is introducing a step-up SKU, so you do have the ability to move from standard to data center as you virtualize more within your environment. This will be a new SKU. We don't have pricing available yet, but we can at least see that there is a route to go from standard to data center. Okay. In a similar way to the server MLs, for all existing client licenses that you have with software assurance, you will have an entitlement to the new System Center 2012 license types. So you can see there on the left-hand side, if you own any of the client MLs and they have current software assurance, they will migrate one-to-one to the equivalent client management suite or the configuration manager or the endpoint protection license. Worth noting that if you have these licenses, you don't need to buy additional management software, and all SQL technology will be included as well in a very similar way to the server MLs. Okay, so we've now gone through the changes to the server MLs, the client MLs, looked briefly at the migration paths available to existing software assurance customers. It's important now to kind of look out the timelines and when are we seeing things changing and what you need to kind of be looking out for and remembering. If you are an Open or Select Plus customer and you have current software assurance on your licenses, they can be renewed into the new System Center 2012 suite. So you have the ability to renew software assurance at expiry, which we see Microsoft do traditionally with software assurance customers. Importantly, that SMUS-E today and SMUS-D, which we've described, will be discontinued at the release date of System Center 2012. So we have a sort of a small window. If these products are ones that you're interested in purchasing, they do come with software assurance. They will be available on the price list until we have that release date of the System Center 2012 product suite. Also, and only available under Open and Select, there is a window to buy L-only components up until the end of January 2013. So that's just worth noticing. The components with L and SA are no longer available on the price list, but there is an opportunity still to continue buying L-only components. For existing enterprise agreement or EA agreement customers out there, if you already have standalone components, i.e. configuration manager, MLs with license and software assurance, and they're already fixed on your CPS, you can continue purchasing these until after the first anniversary after the 17th of January 2012. Similarly, if you have SMUS-E and SMUS-D on your CPS and you've already purchased them historically, you can continue purchasing these until the end of your enrollment. These products are fixed in your agreement. If you have an EA and you haven't purchased any components or purchased any SMUS-E or SMUS-D, we have a small window where you may wish to fix one component or one of the suites onto your CPS. You don't, there is no commitment for you buying beyond one, but if you add one to your agreement now, you can opt to true up these products at a later date. And the point being is that you're fixing today's price rather than the new pricing that will be available at the release date of System Center 2012. Okay. So that's the timelines that are available to you and under the core offerings of Open, Select and Enterprise agreements. Now, there is another offering that Microsoft has for a licensing offering, which is their Core Infrastructure Enrolment. Now, I'm hoping that this isn't going to be a new offering to you and that most of you will have heard of it. If you're not familiar, it is Microsoft's offering around System Center. So this is unlike EAs or traditional EAs where you license or you commit to licensing your entire estate. This is really a where you're looking to license a particular server environment. So typically we're seeing customers with a data center environment, and typically where customers are virtualizing that data center or have virtualized that data center and are looking at standardizing on System Center. The core infrastructure enrollment is really designed for that environment. It is the platform that includes Windows, security, and the System Center suite. So it has been available for a couple of years. It's going to have a couple of changes. So on the slide you can see that there are 3 offerings that are available today. Again, all very much dependent on how virtualized you are. You can opt for Standard, Enterprise, or Datacenter Edition. Moving forward with the release date of System Center 2012, the core infrastructure enrollment will in fact sort of simplify down to 2 offerings. There will be the Standard Suite and there will be the Data Center Suite as well. The entry level will reduce from 50 processors to a 25 license minimum purchase, and you can still opt to have Windows Standard Server or Windows Enterprise Server within the suites as well. So it's really important to mention ECI if you haven't already looked at it. With the changes that are happening, with the release dates that are coming through, this could be an interesting option for your business. Okay. So, to summarise, we've looked at the way you will be licensing or can license System Center 2012 moving forward. We've looked at the migration paths available and some of the timelines are dependent on the license agreement that you currently have in place. Now, we just wanted to highlight some of the opportunities that are available to you. You basically, really, if you're looking at System Center, really what should you be taking advantage of prior to the release date? So we've mentioned that we're expecting the release of System Center 2012 to be in April 2012. We don't have a fixed date yet for when they will go live on the price list. We will be available to have a look 1st of March, and if it's there, then fantastic. We can do some accurate cost modelling for you. If not, it'll be hopefully a month later. Key things to note are we're expecting the Standard Edition to decrease in price by 16%. But we are expecting the Data Center Edition to increase in price by approximately 38%. If you have an existing enterprise agreement, we mentioned that you have the sort of opportunity to fix current pricing. So you could be looking to fix a SMUS-E or a SMUS-D license today and look to true those up at a later date. You also we also have the opportunity to look at ECI on current price lists to look at whether or not this is an option for your data center. Last week as well, so this has actually been since the invite has been sent out to you for this particular webinar. We've had another announcement through from Microsoft, and we as Bytes are communicating this out to our customers at the moment. We know Microsoft are communicating this out heavily, so hopefully you should have seen some sort of heads up on this, and obviously today is another opportunity for us to give you that heads up. Basically, Microsoft have announced that on the 1st of July they're going to be through the whole of Europe doing a price parity exercise and looking at currencies and making sure everything is levelled out. In effect, what that means to the UK market is we're looking, Microsoft are looking to put the sterling price at the same level as the euro price. So we obviously don't know exactly how much that's going to be, but we are expecting a price rise in the marketplace of approximately 20%. What that does mean is that, again, if you are looking at System Center 2012, all the System Center suite prior to the release date, or in fact after the release date, there will be a cost benefit for you doing something with the product suite before the end of June. Okay, so I've given really quite a high level and probably quite a fast summary of all the changes, and I appreciate there probably are quite a lot of questions coming through. I'm just going to pass back to Craig, and we're just going to put a little bit of context around how we can assist customers and help sort of manage you moving or potentially moving into that new System Center 2012 world.
Thank you, Zena. So Craig here again. I just wanted to touch on the fact that a lot of people are on here will have either already worked with or thinking of deploying System Center in some shape or form. So the blue boxes below the wording here depict the 4 mechanisms for buying System Center moving forward, be that by ECI, either Standard or Datacenter, or indeed with a System Center suite, either Standard or Datacenter. I expect the vast majority of you will have come across products such as Operations Manager, Configuration Manager, the DPM, VMM, etc., etc. And whether you have them deployed today or not, like I say, are aware of what their capabilities are. So how are we, I guess, partnering with Bytes and looking to help you leverage the most from these agreements? ECI really kind of gives the simplest and most cost-effective way to license, and by working with Byte you can come to the ultimate kind of licensing position, the optimized model. Each component is in the System Center suite and ECI suite, and everyone has a part to play in your data center environment. However, it's fair to say that the largest ROI comes when you deploy more of the components, negating the need for expensive point alternatives. And to help you to de-risk the deployment of these solutions, Visual has a tried and tested approach that aligns business drivers to technology, which results in business case and justification for the investment. This will reduce the need for other technologies and thus reduce the CapEx expenditure. And once deployed, ultimately will reduce the OpEx expenditure as well, while increasing those efficiencies across the business units. Be it a technical deployment or a new solution, upgrading or indeed migrating, Visual can help. We will also look to Microsoft for things like investment funds for Hyper-V Cloud Accelerate projects, whereby Microsoft is very keen to obviously get Hyper-V out in the field. So we work very closely with the likes of Microsoft and Bytes to put those applications in place. We also can do things like leverage the planning services that you often get as part of your SA benefits and within your EA. So I think the idea here is that there are multiple ways to get to the latest and greatest versions of System Center, and we're here to help. And ultimately, we're here to try to increase the productivity of your infrastructure, delivering against predictable applications that enable your business to run, and ultimately building that cloud, be it public, private, and leveraging all of the components within the System Center suite. So Visual has lots of experience. We are actually taking a lot of the self-service portal capability out to both public sector and the commercial industry, where Hyper-V was seen as I guess a product coming from behind. It very much now is being recognized as a very capable alternative to the cost expensive versions, let's say. So as we kind of move forward, we have some call to actions. I don't think any presentation will be useful without a call to action, but we do have a limited window of opportunity to really try and look at how can you add the System Center suite into current EAs and also look to maximize its usage across your estate. Customers with existing technology and investment within System Center should really start to look at, okay, how can I get onto that latest and greatest sooner rather than later? A lot of the products are still kind of out in the field are based around the 2007 System Center components, which obviously will have an end-of-life date not too far in the future. So there will be a migration requirement. The sooner that happens, the better the return on investment. Customers looking at System Center for futures should really consider pulling budgets forward to try and, I guess, maximize the impending cost impact that will happen at the end of June. I think it's fair to say while as Zena alluded to, there will be an increase. I think if customers can be aware of that and actually look to purchase before that increase, then that will be beneficial to the business, and both Visual and Bytes can work with you to actually try to, I guess, amortize that cost across your business. So really the way in which we'd like to do that is set up a meeting with Bytes and Visual to understand those individual business needs. Each and every one of you will have a very unique case, so there is no one shoe fits all here. We would like to talk with you and build the optimized model both from a licensing perspective and aligning those technologies to your business. So with that, I think we've spoken an awful lot. We've got a lot of questions coming in on the interface. So we're just going to pause just for a couple of moments, and we're just going to go on mute while we just correlate those questions and then come back to you very shortly.
Hi, welcome back. We're just getting some questions through now, obviously just trying to read and digest and make sure we're answering them correctly. The first question that's come through, and it's regarding the SQL piece. The question basically says, hi, is the SQL that's included, does this cover the System Center web interfaces? Just to sort of be clear, that the SQL that is included, it is SQL Standard Edition. CALs are not required, but it's important to note that the SQL technology cannot be used with any other technology rather. It is specifically for that System Center installation. You can use a SQL database that you already have. What we're not 100% sure about is whether or not this actually covers the web interfaces, which I appreciate is the question. But so what we're going to do is we're going to just go and check that for you. We've got your details there, and we can respond back and obviously let everybody know the answer to that as well. Okay. Okay, we've got just one other question that's come through, which we're going to talk specifically to that customer about, because they are asking about the bundle of Windows Endpoint and Datacenter Edition, which in essence is related to ECI. So it looks like that they have a specific requirement to go down that route. So we'll take that particular question offline rather, because that looks going to be specific to their environment. Just wondered if there are any other questions. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to ask? If not, we're going to have to wrap up. We're okay for a couple of minutes, so we'll just hang online, and if anything comes through, we're here to answer. So if you think of anything, let us know. Hi, we've just had another question come through from Tim Howe. So the question is, will the 20% increase in price due to the euro-sterling price parity affect all Microsoft product costs? And the answer to that is yes. And also to be aware that this is not just corporate customers, this will be public sector customers as well. So this is a policy Microsoft are looking at, global price parity. We're just having information through on it. We don't have the final details of the price increase, but we are expecting around 20%. So yes, for all products and for all customers, we're looking to see that price increase. I'm just going to pop you on mute for another sort of minute or so while we're having questions coming through. If anybody is starting to log out, just as a reminder, as you log out, the critique sheet will pop up, so we'll be grateful if you could just spend a minute filling that in and just letting us know if the information you've heard today has been of use. Just pop you on mute and we'll come back if we have any more questions. Hi, we've just had another question coming through from Anthony Dainty. The question was, or question is rather, if we already have current System Center licenses, a single ML, and we have active software assurance, would we get System Center 2012 suite for zero cost? The answer is yes. The like for like, so for any single standard ML that you currently have, or if you have an enterprise server ML, so basically any ML that you currently have with the software assurance, the equivalent that you will get is a System Center 2012 Standard Edition, and yes, that will be at no extra cost. I'll just pop you on mute while more questions come through. It's just we're just looking at the question again from Anthony, and actually the question is if I was to buy as opposed to if I already have current SCCM licenses. So just to be clear on that, there are no MLs are no longer available on the Microsoft price list. So it's really if you have existing investment, if you have that ML already with software assurance, you get the equivalent Standard Edition 2012, no extra cost, but we don't have the ability anymore to buy standard MLs with license and software assurance. You could buy SMUS E or SMUS D or the L only component.